The big chiddush of this mind, but the big news is the rarely touched subject in Kabbalah and Chassidus, that the tzimtzum does not start just classically with the great tzimtzum that plays on the Ein Sof that filled all existence. That's not where tzimtzum begins. That's the tzimtzum Arishan. It's called the first one because it's the first. It's radical. It's the most radical relative to the tzimtzum preceding it. And it's from there that Seder Shtalshalus is manifested. So I'm going to tell you something it doesn't mention here, but the sichos that the Rebbe addresses, the maamar that he said, and the questions that people answered, in those sichos he makes reference to that which is brought in Kabbalah as follows, that the Tzimtzum Arishan, the classic Tzimtzum we're all familiar with, is described in Kabbalah as being round. As we'll see, the Igul HaGadol, a great circle that then, in the language of Kabbalah, to get very deceptively simple and graphic language, so the light filled all of existence, and then the light is retracted, forming a great circle, dafke, a vacuum, a circle. And in that circle, the kav, the line of divinity is projected, and Seder Shtalshalus exists at all levels on this line of graded descending light. But what surrounds it all is called the Igul HaGadol. And the Tzimtzum affected the Igul HaGadol, as it were, that it stops in the perimeter, as it were, this great circle, and doesn't filter, it doesn't illuminate consciously, it's present, but doesn't illuminate the subsequent vacuum, the circular vacuum that the Tzimtzum creates. The imagery is straight. Yeah, we got the imagery, which is physical, as we are physical beings. Sheichne batar batei chayme. We are dwellers in houses of mortar. That's the body. So we think in spatial terms, but we need to learn to try and think in as much as possible in conceptual terms. At any rate, we start with spatial terms. You got the picture? Yeah. Now the Maamar speaks of tzimtzumim. Yes, I need the feedback. Yes.
Yes.
Davidal, official.
Yep.
Yeah. So the Maamar speaks about tzimtzumim that exist mamish within the very essence of Hashem. Yecholis is a tzimtzum, the Maamar explained. Yecholis means God's ability to manifest in any possible way or no way at all. That Yecholis is produced as a result of a tzimtzum, as it were, within the essence of Hashem, who transcends the notion of Yecholis, the ability to. That's still a kind of a description, and it says something. So that's as a result of a tzimtzum. And 3 levels of tzimtzumim. So what I tell you is this, that they're called in Kabbalah square tzimtzumim. That's the imagery that they invoke. Square, as opposed to what I just described now, round. Like square boxes, rectangular boxes. Now, all of this is just imagery, just lashon b'nei adam. It's meta. It's anthropomorphic metaphors. So, what's the idea of a square? So, it's exactly what the Maamar is saying. The whole chiddush of this Maamar, friends, is that Hashem's expression and his chosen expression of gavul, of finite description, is deeper than his expression of bli gavul. Ultimately, it's all equal for him. But God, because he once did a betachtonim, so it works in stages. But what's manifested, listen carefully, we're trying to explain this, that it's understood. What's manifested in terms of consciousness, which is why Chassidus, consciousness, means consciousness and Shtalshalus, which is why Chassidus And Kabbalah starts the whole narrative with first Oyer Ein Sof, and then Tzimtzum Rishon. Because God wants to do it b'tachtonim, so he's got to manifest God to, because of his decision. He manifests first the virtue of Bligvul, of infinite, and then comes the Tzimtzum that eclipses, and that's negative, and that produces a Tachton, because he wants to do it b'tachtonim. We're being told in the Maimis that behind the scenes, which only emerges at the end of Golus, Siddur reveals, and this Maim is revealing, that there's Tzimtzum already before. The Koyach HaGvul, the power of God's finitude to contract himself, actually precedes the Oyer Ein Sof that fills all of existence. And that's even a deep expression of him. And that's why it's called square, because the idea of square, round, there's no beginning, there's no end. When you have a circle and something is in the center of the circle, it's equidistant at every point in the circle. And that's what you want to say. Ishtalshalos is the kav, but then there's a soiviv kol almin that transcends all of Ishtalshalos equally. A circle conveys those two things. It itself doesn't have a start and finish, and the center of the circle, that's the point, that the kav penetrates the center metaphorically, the center of the circle, that all of Ishtalshalos, soiviv kol almin, this level that surrounds it, surrounds equally all of the levels, because if it's infinite, it's equally removed from Atzilus as it is from Asiyah. Correct? One in a million in the face of infinite are the same distance, the same closeness. But when you invoke the imagery of a square, it's a square tzimtzum. Oh, that's the opposite. If you have a rectangle, even a square box, and something in the center, then it's closer to the lines and further from the edges, etc. Certainly a different shaped rectangle. So what's the point being conveyed? It's all metaphoric. It's that what the Maimon is saying, that already primary in Atzmos, already God has the deep decision, the deepest expression of him is to express himself in finite ways. And therefore those contractions, those symptoms, those filters that go from Atzmos to potential, to more, to luminary, to then the oil that's included in the luminary, they're all described as the stages as square or rectangular tzimtzumim, because what dominates there is gvul, lines, boundaries. Rectangle has sides and directions and angles. Finite, in a word, gvul. Now this is whispered, still, not said, by the way, not talked about in Kabbalah and Chassidus. Because first, in order for a Dira P'tachtonim to happen, this is this great, scheme that God has, this great drama. First, we have to experience the mile of Bligvul. That's got to be the closest to God, Bligvul. If we're going to be told at the outset that Gvul, God's finite revelations, are really a deep expression of him, then we're not creating the Tachten. He wants to create a Tachten, and we should pine for him, along for him. That's the desire. And in our perception, infinite is more than finite. And that's how it was for thousands of years. The whole attitude in Yiddishkeit was, you're here to earn a place there, in Shemayim, heaven, Olam Haba, Gan Eden. There's revelation, here's concealment, finished. This is a bad place to be, and why are we here? Just overcome it and earn our place up there. But then and it's all about self and reward, etc. Then close to Mashiach, starts the ideas on the Baal Shem Tov, is revealed that no, Hashem is a desire, and it's dafke b'tachton, and it's dafke did b'tachton. That's where Atzmos, the essence, is drawn, and that's huge news. Tanya, big revolution, bombshells, and then at the end of Golos, our Maimer is saying, adding a profound nuance to that. And his desire for a dwelling place in finitude in this world is so deep that that's his deepest expression within him. Before he revealed Bligvul, he revealed Gvul, carved out, as it were, Gvul, as it were, within himself, as the deepest expression. But it's whispered and not even spoken about. Because this big news that God has affected so deeply, this is very deep, profound news, and it's only appropriate to express it mamish before Mashiach comes. That intimate knowledge of God that we are touching, and that's the oitzer, that's the whole oitzer. The oitzer, the treasure is this awareness and this empowerment that in my struggle of Gvul in Tachten, where does it all begin? And God's invested there in the deepest way because he makes gvul his deepest expression, higher than belief. And that'll be manifest in Moishe Mashiach. Then the third stage ultimately is, and then ultimately revisiting even the infinite, which on its own stands as a virtue, infinite expression, infinite light, infinite power. No, it's not. It has no virtue. It's just that God chose to express himself that way. In the end, the infinite and the finite equal at the end. So I hope you follow the stages here, this plot that has layers and subplots. And what's really going on, as it were, within the Eibishter himself is only revealed at the end. That I really want the tacht and the gvul, and I'm there invested in you. And it's my craving and desire to be part of your life in the minutiae of your life. This is big news. That God has a desire, and it's dafke in my world and your world, and dafke in the fight, in the struggle with the Yetzer Hara, in our skafia, and dafke in our battles, and dafke in the details of the performance of mitzvahs, in the details of performance of mitzvahs, gvul. So it's all about the gvul. It's all about the attention to detail. That's where I reside, and this idea of detail and gvul, I've carved that up within me before the tzimtzum, before the classic tzimtzum, before the classic Ein Sof. That's how deep this desire is with me. This is big news. It's revealed only by Chassidus at the end. Up until the Arizal, friends, was a very simple equation. There's higher, there's lower, and the objective is to get higher. That's it. Shamayim, heaven, the afterlife. The end of Golus knows that the dafke betachtonim, and God has a desire, and that truth is unpacked and revealed deeper and deeper. Now, on this Maimer, we're finding it's not just that God has a desire for dir betachtonim. He wants a dwelling place in the lowest world. But we get this nuance of that is so deep that is his first expression. He's made it part of he's decided that should be his most intimate expression is going to be this concept of tachten, of gvul. That's the square tzimtzumim that precede the round tzimtzum, which produces the whole, sets in motion the infinite, the finite, and the infinite is high, the finite is lower. This dichotomy, this division. But behind the secret, behind the scenes, it's dafka the gvul, which translates simply as in our detailed observance of mitzvahs. That's gvul. In our struggle with the nefesh habam yitzhar, that's even a bigger gvul. That's the biggest desire. That's the tainug. That's where he's invested. And he made himself part of it by expressing himself in gvul as the deepest expression. Gvul is a deep expression in bli gvul. And therefore, we're made in that template for the human being, even a non-Jew. In the image of God is made that way, Taka, that your deepest energy is expended when you contain yourself. It takes much more effort to contain than to express. Something you want to say, and it's going to elicit a lot of laughter. It's a great lashon hara, and everybody's going to be, licking their fingers, smacking their lips, and you don't say it. You sit there stony faced, with nothing happened. The conversation, no revelation. But the truth is, you're invested. You're expressing yourself here much deeper than if you would just give vent to what you want to say. Why? Because we're made in the image of God. But this is it's counterintuitive that where containment is a deeper expression, concealment is deeper. Yeah. In the end, because God decided to do so, in the end, we find it in the human soul. And so it makes sense. But this only comes out at the end. And history reflects that. Who was the hero in history? Who was the Gibber? The conqueror, the one who manifested and controlled and revealed, expanded empires, etc. Who's the hero today? Overall, it's the peacemaker. And the world is struggling with it still, but it's no longer in fashion anymore. It's no longer fashion. The empire is building, which was a given. It was a given for thousands of years in society. The norm was, if you have a country, an empire, you expand it, you conquer. Because that's a reflection, a violent one, but of blikvul, of expansion being the virtue. Bigger is better. And we're learning now in so many ways that bigger is not better. Smaller, smaller, smaller. This is this new thing. That's the smaller it is, the greater the it's in everything, and also in politics. It's no the conquer, the expansion, the empire, British Empire, the these are not virtues anymore. Contrary, scale back, give people their boundaries and clear borders. This is the new thinking because it's out of Mashiach. What Russia is doing is unpopular. It's not in anymore. It's passé. The USSR, the empire, the British, the French Empire. Everybody had their attempt at it, and to some degree did so. And that was the norm. That was the hero. The statues are made of these people that conquered. Napoleon, so on. And they're tearing down these statues. Because that's not a virtue. Why? The virtue is dafkin, gvul. Everybody having their place. Not an expansion. And I said, even scientifically, we're saying the atom. What's the big discovery? The smallest subatomic, smaller, gvul. Not going that way, going this way. So it's manifested in so many areas of life. Let's continue with the Maimer. So we said it already 5 times, but so we'll just go through it quickly. Friends, we get the general idea. V'yuven in Yizes to be understood. What to be understood? That the deep tzimtzumim within Hashem himself still steps, eons, as it were, conceptually, away from producing the finite tzedek stalshus that he wants at the end of the day, the tacht. So he explains it, he elaborates upon that. V'yuven in Yizes, quickly, it's just this idea, first of all, why are we probing here? Because you got to know this. God says, I want you to know me, and it's very empowering, as we were saying. At the end of the day, it's the most empowering piece. This is the oitzer, the knowledge to know that it all starts with tzimtzum within God himself. And I'm dealing with tzimtzum all day. I'm dealing all day with the gvul limitations and my guf and nefesh bahamis, etc. So no, that's not marginal. That's the whole point. So you got to know this is the Mittel Rebbe. So therefore explains that even before the first Tzimtzum, which is the narrative where the Eitz Chaim picks up the whole story of creation, it doesn't start there. There's 3 levels of Tzimtzum, using another set of words and language, and that is God desire. This is from the Mekubalim. What motivates creation? Desire to bestow chesed. That's what gets in motion the whole creation in the first tzimtzum. He's going to create needy human beings, and God will be beneficent. I think that was the right word, and provide. That's a classic explanation for the whole creation, which is kind of, it's not dir b'tachtonim, which is deeper, but it's an expression of dir b'tachtonim. In your home, you're kind and loving to your soulmates. So it's all bound up. At any rate, sheyesh gimel madreges if tzimtzum. There are actually 3 levels before the classic tzimtzum. The lowest one is where God estimates in potential, whatever's going to happen, the final step in the drawing plans, it's all estimated and it's all going to play itself out. Now that level of shir ba'atzme b'koyach, God estimated within himself and on the potential level, all that which will actualize, that's all before the great tzimtzum. And there's 3 levels, you mentioned them yesterday without repeating them again. They're just his names. This level of a tzimtzum precedes that first opening frame in the description of the Eitz Chaim describing creation, that the divine light filled the entire existence. That's this tzimtzum of which he just described, which is number 3, the lowest of the pre-tzimtzum rishon tzimtzumim. והנה גם, צורפתי, והנה גם מבחינת החפץ חסד העצמי, even that first level, the essential, this motivation for creation, this itself, the chafetz chesed atzmi, the essential deep desire within God that he wants to bestow kindness. And then he said there's 3 levels of that before it actualizes. That itself is a tzimtzum that precedes it, because it's saying something chesed, right? There's a tzimtzum precedes that. And that really is God's articulating the nis'ava for dida b'tachtonim. But to produce that, he has a desire, that's a tzimtzum. Tzimtzum means a stage of expression that doesn't have to be, but is produced because he wants to. It's only there because he desires it, not that it has to be. So let's go say the words. The level of chafetz chesed atzmi, this essential motive that God wants to bestow kindness, at that level it's nothing bestowed. Bilvad, just a desire for kindness. And desire in brackets he adds is desire is even a deeper level than will. It's in atainug, that's very essential. It's very essential still. For the Eibush to produce this expression, that's not hardwired that way. It's a tzimtzum. It's a decision to express himself that way. Any revelation of the highest level doesn't have to be there. It's a decision. Yes, tzimtzum accordingly. There is a cause before it. That's what tzimtzum means. A decision to manifest on a lower plane that doesn't have to happen. Starting here with Yechelis. From potential to actually have revelation, that's a decision. That's a tzimtzum. Any revelation, by definition, is incomparably, immeasurably lower than God's potential. Because his potential is to manifest in any way or in no way at all. And when he manifests in a particular way, that's a huge tzimtzum. It's a huge decision. He's going to reveal himself in this way. What's at first? He's going to manifest a desire, an essential desire to do good. Or manifest an essential desire for a dwelling place in this world, which is a nuance within that. Now, because that's how God has decided to operate, so with the soul works the same way. Like a human soul. The soul just being an energy of life, pure life, that could manifest in endless ways. That's beyond all revelations, the core pure life that you would see when a person's in a coma, he's still alive. And he's just quite physically at that state, you're seeing no revelation at all, which means it's kind of negative, but he's beyond all revelation there. There's no intellect expressed, there's no emotion, nothing. And not even close. There's nothing. But what's their life? It's higher than all Giluyu. But once the soul manifests already, so that is already a huge step away from the pure energy, the pure life. That is a human being chafetz chesed. So likewise, God desired to bestow kindness. So that's already a Giluy. That's already an articulated expression of Hashem. And the potential is way beyond that. God in his potential to manifest in whatever way or no way at all is far more, he says, much higher, much more. Edela means refined, meaning less. There's no description there. We are saying the word yechelis, potential, saying something, but it's still far beyond a particular articulate, I want kindness. That's a particular desire for infinite potentials, infinite expressions. Therefore, to go from the potential to an actually articulate desire that I want to do good, there's This is a particular articulated agenda, and to have one agenda from the endless array of potential to manifest, not manifest, it's a tzimtzum. Nothing but this is what I want. That's a huge contraction. But there go from Avayas, the Mitreb explains, in the Shayichad there, Sheyesh Gimel Dark, the three levels of going from the potential to the actual, not the actual, to the stage before the actual. At the Darga Achroina, we identified them yesterday. The third level, the Shib Atzma Koyach Mashas Elias Bepoil. Now we're getting down to, it's already estimated what it's going to be. That's the final stage of this implementing that I want to bestow kindness, which itself to go from, there could be nothing or anything else, a huge gulf, a huge tzimtzum. So once that agenda is articulated, then the infinite light gets this real radical tzimtzum, and because he wants to bestow kindness upon finite human beings, it's going to be now comes the big tzimtzum in the revelation, the oir, producing the empty vacuum, and then ishtalshalos then follows. All to say, friends, that there are tzimtzumim before the tzimtzum arish. Let's go a bit further. Now, so someone's going to ask you, so what's the big word you're talking about in the Maimon? Tzimtzum. What does this mean? How would you answer it? And we should write this down and send it, so we have it in front of our eyes. Tzimtzum means a source voluntarily descends to manifest on a radically lower plane. That's what tzimtzum means. It's not yeshmai.
I have to. It's like I have to adjust myself because there's something else. I have to modify my behavior because of somebody else.
The Eibishter is nothing else. He's producing the idea of nothing else.
Correct. Because
he has a desire for dir b'tachtonim, therefore he is willingly contracting himself to relate to this otherness. That's it. We want to get with the definition of tzimtzum, what it means. It's not classically, you think, but tzimtzum marishan and light and filters. It speak in conception. Tzimtzum means going from relative self to, as you're saying, to relating to a level outside of self, and there's levels and levels and levels of that outside of self. So, as he said, when God decided, free choice, that he wants to, this essential bestow kindness, that's all within the self, but it's the first step outside of self. Bestow kindness means it's going to be at some point down the road, another to receive it. It's eons away from that actually happening. Eons, I mean, in terms of level, wholesale distortionless, before we appear, wandering, running around terra firma. But it's already a tzimtzum to go from atzmos to this particular, from yechelis, as he says. Yechelis means God could manifest endless array of manifestations, not manifest. When something particular is expressed, tzimtzum. And that level gets more particular, another tzimtzum, and so it continues. Okay, let's continue. Next paragraph we'll do. That's I think we'll stop here. We need to start at 7. Okay, so we'll stop here. I think we need at this point just to let the Maimon speak, get the words, whatever we'll get the general idea, certainly. I don't know if